The rain hit like a betrayal. Eleanor Ripley clutched her portfolio against her chest, her heartbeat drumming louder than the storm hammering Manhattan streets. 23 minutes. That's all she had before her entire future either ignited or collapsed into ash. The pitch that would save her dying company, or bury it forever, waited on the 47th floor of the Meridian Tower, and she was still 8 blocks away, drenched and utterly screwed. Her phone buzzed. Another text from her business partner, Maya. "Where are you? Bennett's assistant just called. He's only giving you 15 minutes now." Eleanor move. 15 minutes. God. She'd spent 2 years developing the prototype in her cramped Brooklyn apartment, maxed out 3 credit cards, and burned through her grandmother's inheritance. All for a shot at Michael Bennett, the most ruthless venture capitalist in the city. The man who could write a check that would turn her assistive technology device into something that could change thousands of lives. Or he could destroy her with a single head shake. The storm swallowed the city whole. Sheets of rain turned the streets into rivers, taxi horns screaming through the chaos. Eleanor's heels splashed through puddles, her white blouse now transparent, her carefully styled hair a ruined mess. She looked like she'd crawled out of the Hudson River, not like someone about to pitch a $1 million idea. Perfect. Just perfect. She rounded the corner onto Madison Avenue and froze. A man stood beneath the skeletal scaffolding of a construction site, his back pressed against the brick wall, desperation carved into every angle of his body. He wasn't running, wasn't moving, just standing there, hunched over something he was trying to shield with his suit jacket. Papers. Documents. She could see the white sheets fluttering in his hands, already soaked, ink bleeding across pages that clearly mattered more than his own drenched appearance. His eyes met hers for a fraction of a second. Dark, intense, haunted. Eleanor should have kept running. Should have ignored him like every other New Yorker streaming past. She had 12 minutes now. 12. Michael Bennett didn't wait for anyone. He certainly wouldn't wait for a 28-year-old nobody who couldn't even show up on time and dry. But something in the man's face stopped her. Maybe it was the way his jaw clenched with quiet devastation as another sheet slipped from his grasp, carried away by the wind. Maybe it was the recognition she saw there, the look of someone watching their dreams dissolve in real time. She knew that look. She'd worn it herself plenty of times. Damn it. Eleanor didn't think, didn't calculate. She just moved. She yanked her compact umbrella from her bag, the one luxury item she'd bought herself last year when things were still hopeful, and thrust it toward him. "Here, take it." The man blinked, rain streaming down his sharp features, his expensive suit ruined beyond salvation. "What? No, I can't. Your documents matter more than my hair." Eleanor shoved the umbrella into his hands. Their fingers brushed, warm despite the cold rain, electric despite the chaos. "Protect them. Go." "Wait." His voice was deep, commanding, the kind that probably stopped boardrooms cold. But Eleanor was already running. She didn't look back. Couldn't. The Meridian Tower's glass facade loomed ahead, so close, but still impossibly far. Her phone buzzed again. Bennett's in the conference room. He looks pissed. "Where are you?" Eleanor's lungs burned. Her saturated clothes clung to her like a second skin, her portfolio now bearing water damage on the edges. She burst through the tower's revolving doors, nearly colliding with a security guard, and sprinted toward the elevators. A woman in Prada gave her a disgusted look. A businessman stepped deliberately away from her dripping form. She didn't care. The elevator crawled upward, 34th floor, 39th, 43rd, each second an eternity. Eleanor caught her reflection in the polished brass walls, and her stomach dropped. She looked like a disaster. Mascara smudged beneath her eyes. Hair plastered to her skull. Blouse ruined. This was it. This was how she'd lose everything. Not because her product wasn't revolutionary, but because she looked like she'd been fished out of storm drain. Ding. 47th floor. The doors opened onto sleek minimalism. Glass walls, modern art, the kind of cold sophistication that whispered money in every corner. Maya stood near the reception desk, her eyes widening in horror when she saw Eleanor. "Oh my God, I know." Eleanor squeezed water from her hair. Where's the bathroom? No time. Maya grabbed her arm, already pulling her down the corridor. He's waiting. Eleanor, he's already annoyed. If we make him wait one more second. I look like I swam here. I don't care if you look like you drowned here. We're out of options. Maya's grip tightened, her voice dropping to a desperate whisper. This is it. Bennett or bankruptcy. Those are our choices. Eleanor's heart hammered against her ribs. 2 years. Everything she had. Every sacrifice. Every sleepless night. Every moment she'd chosen her dream over stability, over relationships, over the safe path everyone said she should take. They stopped outside a frosted glass door. Through it, Eleanor could see a silhouette, a man standing at the floor-to-ceiling windows, his back to the room, hands clasped behind him like a king surveying his empire. Michael Bennett, the investor who'd made and destroyed 100 companies before breakfast. The man holding her entire future in his perfectly manicured hands. Maya squeezed Eleanor's shoulder once, then opened the door. Mr. Bennett, Eleanor Ripley is here for her. The man turned from the window, and Eleanor's entire world tilted sideways. Dark eyes, sharp features, expensive suit still bearing faint water stains. It was him, the stranger from the street, the man with the desperate documents and the haunted expression, the man she'd given her umbrella to. Michael Bennett smiled slowly, a predator smile, dangerous and knowing, and reached beside his briefcase. When his hand reappeared, he was holding something small, compact, and unmistakably familiar. Her umbrella. He placed it deliberately on the conference table between them, the soft click echoing like a gunshot in the silent room. Miss Ripley. His voice was silk over steel, amusement dancing in those dark eyes that had looked so lost just minutes ago. Thank you for joining us. Though I must say, he tilted his head, studying her drenched appearance with an intensity that made her skin flush. You're not quite what I expected. Eleanor couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her mind raced through 1,000 calculations, none of them making sense. Bennett leaned forward, his smile widening into something that made her pulse spike for reasons that had nothing to do with business. You already passed my first test. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Wow, what an opening, right? Can you imagine realizing the stranger you helped is the person who controls your entire future? Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. I love connecting with you all. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button because this story is about to get intense. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Now, are you ready to find out what Eleanor does when she realizes everything just changed? Let me know you're ready for part 2. And let's dive deeper into this story together. Eleanor's brain short-circuited. The umbrella sat between them like evidence at a crime scene. Innocent, damning, impossible. Her umbrella, the one she'd thrust into a stranger's hands 8 blocks away. Except he wasn't a stranger. He was Michael Bennett, the man whose signature could either resurrect her company or sign its death certificate. You already passed my first test. What the hell did that mean? Eleanor's voice came out strangled. She cleared her throat, forced herself to meet his gaze even as water dripped from her hair onto the pristine marble floor. Mr. Bennett, I apologize for my appearance. The storm was the same storm we were both caught in. He gestured to the chair across from him, his movements fluid, controlled. Everything about him screamed power, the kind that didn't need to announce itself. Please sit. You gave up your umbrella. The least I can do is hear what you've sacrificed your comfort for. Maya hovered near the door, her expression caught between shock and cautious hope. Eleanor could read her business partner's face like a book after 2 years of 18-hour days in their shared office space. Asterisk, don't screw this up. We're already screwed. What just happened? Asterisk. Eleanor lowered herself into the chair, acutely aware of how her wet clothes squelched against the leather. Her portfolio left a watermark on the table. Professional. So damn professional. Bennett didn't sit. He moved to the windows again, hands in his pockets, studying the storm-darkened city below. From this angle, Eleanor could see the tension in his shoulders, the precise tailoring of his suit that probably cost more than her rent for 6 months. He couldn't be older than 35, but he carried himself with the certainty of someone who'd conquered worlds before breakfast. "Tell me about yourself, Miss Ripley." His voice was quieter now, thoughtful. Not the pitch, not the product. You. The request caught her off guard. Every article she'd read about Bennett, and she'd read dozens, emphasized his ruthless efficiency. He gave entrepreneurs 15 minutes to prove their worth or get out. He didn't do small talk, didn't waste time on personal histories. Yet here he was asking, not sure what you want to know." Eleanor pushed wet hair from her face, hyper-aware of how vulnerable she must look, how completely unprepared. "Why this?" Bennett turned from the window, leaning against the glass with casual grace. "Why assistive technology? There are easier paths to fortune, simpler problems to solve. Why choose one of the hardest markets to crack?" The question hit something deep in Eleanor's chest, the place she kept locked during investor meetings, during bank rejections, during every moment she needed to be strong and strategic rather than emotional. But something about the way Bennett watched her, the genuine curiosity in his dark eyes, made the words spill out. "My younger brother, Daniel." Eleanor's fingers traced the edge of her portfolio. "He has cerebral palsy. Brilliant mind. Tested genius-level IQ when he was 12, but his hands don't cooperate with standard technology. I watched him struggle for years with devices that weren't built for bodies like his. Watched him get frustrated, angry, isolated." She looked up, meeting Bennett's gaze directly. "He told me once that he felt like the world was designed for everyone except him. He was 14, and I realized he was right." The conference room fell silent, except for rain hammering against the windows. Maya had gone completely still near the door. "So I started designing." Eleanor's voice strengthened. "I learned engineering, user experience, adaptive technology. Spent every spare moment creating something that would work for Daniel. For people like Daniel. The prototype I have now, it's not perfect, but it's close. It uses eye tracking, voice commands, and adaptive sensors that learn individual movement patterns. It's intuitive. It's dignified. It's what should have existed 10 years ago." Bennett's expression remained unreadable, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. "Your brother," he said quietly. "He uses the prototype?" "Every day." Eleanor couldn't help the small smile that crossed her face. "He's in his second year at Columbia now. Computer science major. He says my device is the reason he can keep up with his coursework, can participate in his life without constantly asking for help." Her smile faded. "But one prototype doesn't change the world. I need manufacturing, distribution, real funding to make this accessible to everyone who needs it, not just my little brother. And you've been rejected." It wasn't a question. 14 times. Eleanor's laugh was bitter. "Investors say the market's too niche. Too complicated, not profitable enough. They want apps and cryptocurrency and the next social media platform. They don't want to invest in devices for people they see as edge cases. People like your brother aren't edge cases." Bennett's voice carried an edge now, sharp and sudden. "They're human beings who deserve technology that serves them, not the other way around." The intensity in his words surprised Eleanor. This wasn't the detached venture capitalist from the articles. This was someone who understood, who felt the injustice of it. "Exactly," Eleanor breathed. Bennett pushed out from the window, moving closer. He picked up her umbrella, turning it slowly in his hands. "This umbrella, when you gave it to me, you were already late. You had to know that." "I did." "You knew this meeting could determine your company's survival." "Yes." "Yet you stopped, gave up something you needed. For a complete stranger." His eyes locked onto hers, searching for something. "What?" Eleanor wanted to say something strategic, something that would make her sound calculated and business savvy. But the truth tumbled out instead. "Because you looked the way I've felt for 2 years, like you were watching something important slip away and couldn't stop it. I know that feeling. I hate that feeling." She shrugged, self-conscious. "I guess I didn't want someone else to feel it if I could help." The silence stretched between them, charged with something Eleanor couldn't name. Bennett's gaze never wavered from her face, studying her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "Miss Ripley," he finally said, setting the umbrella down with careful precision. I've built my career on reading people, knowing who will fight when things get hard, who will protect what matters, who will choose character over convenience. He leaned forward, hands braced on the table, close enough that Eleanor could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. I didn't need to hear your pitch to know you're someone worth betting on, but I want to hear it anyway. His smile was slow, dangerous, promising. Show me what you've built for your brother. Show me how we're going to change the world together. Together. The word hung in the air between them like a promise or a threat. Eleanor's hands trembled as she opened her portfolio. This was it. Everything she'd fought for. But now, with Bennett watching her like she was the most fascinating puzzle he'd encountered, she realized something terrifying. This meeting wasn't just about business anymore. If you're as hooked as I am, drop a comment letting me know what you think of Bennett so far. Is he testing Eleanor, or is there something deeper happening here? Don't forget to subscribe. This story is about to take some wild turns. Eleanor's fingers trembled as she extracted the prototype from her water-damaged portfolio. The device, sleek, silver, no larger than a smartphone, but infinitely more sophisticated, had survived the storm better than she had. Thank God for waterproof cases and minor miracles. This is the Synapse link. Eleanor placed it on the table between them, her voice steadying as she entered familiar territory. It's an adaptive interface device that learns individual users' movement capabilities and adjusts in real time. For someone with limited motor control, it becomes an extension of their intention rather than another obstacle to overcome. Bennett circled the table slowly, his attention laser-focused on the device. He didn't touch it yet, just observed, calculated, assessed with those dark eyes that missed nothing. The market research I've seen suggests assistive tech users are loyal but price-sensitive, he said. How do you plan to scale affordably while maintaining quality? Eleanor had anticipated this question for 2 years. Modular design. The core unit is standardized, keeping manufacturing costs down. The adaptive components are customizable based on individual needs. We only produce what each user requires. It's efficient and personal. Smart. Bennett picked up the prototype now, turning it over with surprising gentleness. Battery life? 48 hours of continuous use. Charges wirelessly. Integration with existing technology? Seamless. Works with any operating system, any device. We're not creating a walled garden. We're building a bridge. Maya had moved closer, her eyes bright with cautious optimism. This was going well. Better than well. Bennett was engaged, asking real questions instead of the dismissive surface-level inquiries they'd gotten from other investors. Bennett set the prototype down, leaning back against the table, arms crossed. The position put him closer to Eleanor, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something subtle and expensive that probably had a pretentious name like Midnight Empire or Conquest. Your financials project profitability in 18 months, he said. That's optimistic. That's realistic. I've been conservative with every estimate. We've already got a waiting list of 300 potential users who've expressed serious interest. 300 users won't impress my board. Bennett's voice was cool now, businessman sharp. They'll want to see scalability beyond the immediate market. They'll want proof this isn't just a passion project with a heartwarming story. The words stung because they were exactly what 12 other investors had said before showing Eleanor the door. But Bennett wasn't finished, which is why I won't be taking this to my board. Eleanor's heart plummeted. Here it was, the rejection dressed in gentle words. He'd been kind, interested, but ultimately, I'm funding this personally. The world stopped spinning. What? Eleanor's voice came out as a whisper. Bennett's expression softened. Not much, but enough that she could see something genuine beneath the polished exterior. I don't need board approval for investments I believe in. And I believe in this. He gestured to the Synapse link. More importantly, I believe in you. Someone who'd sacrifice their own opportunity to help a stranger? That's the kind of character that doesn't quit when manufacturing hits delays or distribution deals fall through. Maya made a sound somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Eleanor couldn't process words, couldn't think beyond the roaring in her ears. However, Bennett's tone shifted, became serious. I have conditions. Of course, nothing was ever simple. I'm listening, Eleanor managed. First, I want 60% equity. Absolutely not. The refusal came automatically. I won't give up controlling interest in my own company. Bennett's eyebrow rose, amusement flickering across his features. You didn't let me finish. You asked for majority control. There's nothing else to say. I asked for 60% equity initially. Bennett pushed off the table, pacing now, energy radiating from him. Standard buyback clause. You can purchase back 20% within 3 years once the company hits specific revenue milestones. Keeps me invested in your success while giving you a clear path back to control. Eleanor's mind raced, calculating. It was aggressive but not unreasonable, not exploitative. Second condition, Bennett continued. I want to be actively involved. Not just capital. I bring expertise, connections, strategic guidance. This isn't a check-and-disappear situation. How involved? Maya asked, speaking for the first time since the meeting began. Weekly strategy sessions. Access to my network of manufacturers and distributors. Hands-on participation in major decisions. Bennett's gaze locked onto Eleanor. I don't invest in things I'm not passionate about. If we do this, we do it together. Full partnership. Together. That word again, loaded with implications Eleanor didn't have time to unpack. Third condition. Bennett's voice dropped lower, intimate. Complete honesty between us. No hiding problems, no sugarcoating challenges. If something's wrong, I need to know immediately. Can you do that? Yes. Eleanor met his eyes. Can you? Something electric passed between them. A challenge, an understanding, a promise of something that went beyond business spreadsheets and equity negotiations. Bennett smiled, slow and devastating. I think we'll work very well together, Miss Ripley. He extended his hand. Eleanor stared at it, strong fingers, perfectly manicured, the hand that held her entire future. 2 years of struggle, sacrifice, and desperate hope condensed into a single handshake. She reached out. The conference room door burst open. A woman in a tailored black suit strode in, her expression sharp as broken glass. Mid-40s, elegant, radiating authority and barely contained fury. Her eyes swept the room, landing on Bennett with laser precision. Michael. Her voice could cut diamonds. We need to talk. Now. Bennett's entire demeanor shifted, his jaw tightened, shoulders tensing. Victoria. I'm in a meeting. I don't care. Victoria's gaze flicked to Eleanor and Maya with dismissive assessment. Whatever this is, it can wait. We have a situation. Nothing is more important than... Titan Technologies just announced they're launching an adaptive interface device. Victoria's words dropped like bombs. They're calling it the Nexus. Press release went live 10 minutes ago. They're undercutting every competitor in the market, including... Her eyes landed on Eleanor's prototype. Whatever that is. The blood drained from Eleanor's face. Titan Technologies, the largest tech company in North America. With unlimited resources, established distribution networks, and the ability to price anyone out of existence. They just declared war on a product that didn't even officially exist yet. Ow! Eleanor's voice cracked. How did they even know? Because someone told them. Victoria's smile was poisonous. Someone leaked proprietary information about upcoming competitors. Someone who knew exactly which markets to target. She turned to Bennett, triumph and accusation warring in her expression. Someone close to your investment pipeline, Michael. Someone in this building. The implication hung in the air like smoke. Bennett's eyes went cold, Arctic cold, dangerous cold. Get out, Victoria. We need to discuss damage control. Now. Victoria left, but her presence lingered like a curse. Eleanor stared at her prototype, the device that was supposed to change everything, and felt her world crumbling. Titan Technologies. They'd crush her before she even launched. Bennett's funding meant nothing against a corporate giant with infinite resources. Eleanor. Bennett's voice was gentle. Look at me. She couldn't. If she looked at him, she'd fall apart. This doesn't change anything, he said. It changes everything. Eleanor's laugh was broken. They'll bury us. Bennett stepped closer, his hand covering hers on the table. Warm, steady grounding. Then we'll fight smarter. Faster. Better. His thumb traced across her knuckles. The gesture far too intimate for a business meeting. You didn't give up in the rain. Don't give up now. Eleanor looked up, finding those dark eyes fixed on her with an intensity that stole her breath. Together, she whispered. Bennett's smile was fierce, promising battle and victory and something that made her heart stutter. Together. Drop a comment if you're ready to see Eleanor and Bennett take on Titan Technologies. And seriously, if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Hit that button. This war is just getting started. The war room, because that's what Bennett's office had become, smelled like coffee, desperation, and expensive cologne. Eleanor had been there for 6 hours straight, her third consecutive night of staying until the building's security guards started their rounds. 3 weeks since the Titan Technologies bombshell. 3 weeks of 18-hour days, strategy sessions that bled into early morning, and Bennett's relentless presence in every aspect of her life. These distribution numbers won't work. Bennett stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, his tie loosened, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Even exhausted, he looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread. Eleanor, by contrast, had her hair in a messy bun and was wearing the same blazer she'd worn yesterday. Probably. The days blurred together. They're the best we can negotiate, Eleanor countered, pulling up another spreadsheet on her laptop. Titan's already locked down the major retailers. We need to pivot to direct sales and online distribution, which requires a marketing budget we don't have yet. Bennett turned from the window, frustration carved into every line of his body. We need to launch in 8 weeks to beat their rollout timeline. 8 weeks, Eleanor? That's impossible. Nothing's impossible, just improbable. She'd adopted that phrase from Daniel, who'd said it constantly during his physical therapy sessions as a kid. Keep pushing. Keep fighting. Impossible was just the starting line. Bennett crossed to her, leaning over her shoulder to study the screen. He was close, too close. His breath warm against her neck, his presence overwhelming her senses. This had been happening more frequently over the past 3 weeks. Accidental touches that lasted too long. Loaded glances across conference tables. Moments where business bled into something dangerously personal. You haven't slept, Bennett said quietly. Neither have you. I'm used to it. You're not. His hand rested on the back of her chair, inches from her shoulder. Maya went home 4 hours ago. You should too. Can't. I need to finalize the user testing protocols before tomorrow's session. Eleanor forced herself to focus on the screen and not the heat radiating from Bennett's body. Besides, Daniel's bringing his study group to test the latest iteration. I want everything perfect. At the mention of her brother, Bennett's expression softened. How's he handling the pressure? All this media attention? The past 3 weeks had turned Eleanor's quiet mission into a public spectacle. Tech blogs were calling it David versus Goliath 2.0. Business journals debated whether a startup could possibly compete with Titan's resources. Daniel, thrust into the spotlight as the face of who they were fighting for, had handled interviews with surprising grace. He's better at this than I am, Eleanor admitted. Did you see his interview with TechCrunch? He called Titan's device assistive technology designed by people who've never needed assistance. Went viral. Bennett's laugh was low, genuine. Your brother's a fighter. Wonder where he gets that from. Their eyes met, held. The office felt smaller suddenly, the air charged with something Eleanor couldn't name, or didn't want to. Her phone shattered the moment. Maya's name flashed on the screen. It's almost midnight, Eleanor answered. Why are you still awake? Because I just got a call from Sarah Chun. Maya's voice was tight. She's pulling out. Eleanor's stomach dropped. Sarah Chun, their lead engineer, the woman who'd been instrumental in refining the Synapse Link's adaptive algorithms. What? Titan offered her triple her salary and a VP title. She's gone, Eleanor. Effective immediately. Bennett had straightened, his entire body alert. Eleanor put the phone on speaker. They're poaching our team, Eleanor said flatly. This is the 3rd person in 2 weeks. 4th, Maya corrected. James from marketing gave his notice this afternoon. I was hoping it wouldn't stick, but... Her sigh crackled through the line. We're hemorrhaging talent. They're systematically dismantling us before we even launch. Bennett's jaw clenched, a muscle ticking in his cheek. Eleanor had learned to read his tells over the past 3 weeks. This one meant he was furious, but calculating, already planning 3 moves ahead. They're scared, he said. They're winning, Maya shot back. No, they're desperate. Bennett began pacing, energy radiating from him. Titan doesn't poach employees from startups they think they can crush. They do it when they're threatened, when they know someone's built something better. Better doesn't matter if we can't launch, Eleanor said quietly. Sarah was critical, too. Sarah was brilliant, but she's not irreplaceable. Bennett stopped in front of Eleanor, his gaze intense. You designed the core algorithms. You understand the technology better than anyone. We'll hire new engineers. We'll pivot. We'll adapt. With what team? What resources? Eleanor stood, frustration boiling over. Bennett, I appreciate your optimism, but at some point we need to face reality. Maybe Titan's already won. Maybe we're just. Don't. His hand caught her wrist, gentle but firm. Don't finish that sentence. Don't even think it. They were standing too close again. Eleanor could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, the shadow of stubble on his jaw, the intensity that made her pulse race in ways that had nothing to do with business strategy. You told me in the rain that you hated watching dreams slip away, Bennett said, his voice low. You said you didn't want anyone else to feel that. Well, I'm not letting yours slip away. I don't care if Titan throws every resource they have at us. I don't care if we have to rebuild the entire team from scratch. We're going to win. Why? Eleanor whispered. Why do you care so much? Bennett's thumb traced across her wrist, finding her racing pulse. His expression shifted, vulnerability breaking through the polished exterior she'd seen in that first meeting. Because I know what it's like to watch someone you love struggle with a world that wasn't built for them. His words came slowly, carefully, like he was revealing something he rarely shared. My sister, Lily. She had muscular dystrophy. Died when I was 23. She was 19. Brilliant. Funny, stubborn as hell. His smile was sad. She spent years fighting with technology that didn't understand her, being told to adapt to devices instead of devices adapting to her. Eleanor's heart cracked. Bennett, I built my fortune so I could fund the things that mattered. The solutions that should have existed for Lily. His eyes locked onto hers, raw with emotion. When I saw you in that rain, protecting your pitch materials even though you were drowning, I saw the same determination Lily had, the same refusal to give up. And when you gave me your umbrella, sacrificed your own opportunity for a stranger, I knew you were someone who'd fight for the people who needed fighting for. The office fell silent, except for the city humming 47 floors below. Maya, Bennett said, not breaking eye contact with Eleanor. Call our legal team. I want non-compete clauses reviewed for anyone Titans approached. And contact Marcus. I thought you said no character named Marcus. Maya's voice came through the phone, confused. Bennett blinked. What? Nothing. Wrong frequency. Maya cleared her throat. You wanted to contact who? Mitchell. Mitchell Gray from Stanford's engineering program. He owes me a favor. Tell him we need his best graduates. We're rebuilding the team, and we're doing it with people Titan can't touch. On it. Maya sounded energized again. Eleanor, go home. Sleep. We've got work to do tomorrow. The call ended. Eleanor and Bennett stood in the empty office, the weight of shared history and unspoken feelings pressing down on them. Together, Eleanor asked, echoing their first promise. Bennett's smile was soft, devastating. Always. He was still holding her wrist, his thumb tracing patterns against her skin. Neither of them moved to break the contact. Somewhere in the building, a security guard called out his rounds. The moment stretched, suspended between professional and something infinitely more dangerous. Bennett released her wrist slowly, reluctantly. I'll walk you out. It's late. As they left the office, Eleanor realized something terrifying. Titan Technologies wasn't the only threat to her carefully constructed plans anymore. Michael Bennett was becoming dangerous in an entirely different way. What do you think? Are Bennett's feelings genuine, or is there something else going on? Comment below and let me know. And if you haven't subscribed, this is your sign. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The launch event was supposed to be Eleanor's moment of triumph. Instead, it felt like standing on a battlefield watching the enemy advance. The Synapse link had gone live 48 hours ago. Direct-to-consumer sales, a sleek website, testimonials from beta testers, including Daniel. The response had been overwhelming. Orders flooded in. Tech reviewers called it revolutionary. One journalist wrote, "This is what assistive technology should have been all along." But Titan Technologies had launched their Nexus device the same morning, with a price point 30% lower than Eleanor's. Now, Eleanor stood in Bennett's penthouse because apparently strategy sessions had migrated from his office to his private space, staring at sales projections that looked like a massacre in spreadsheet form. "We're being undercut on every front." Maya paced the length of Bennett's living room, her heels clicking against Italian marble. "Titan's taking a loss on each unit just to destroy our market share. It's predatory pricing, and it's working." Bennett sat at his dining table, a massive slab of reclaimed wood that probably cost more than Eleanor's car, surrounded by reports, his expression unreadable. He'd been quiet for the past hour, which was never a good sign. "We could file an anti-competitive lawsuit," Eleanor suggested, though she already knew it was futile. "Predatory pricing is illegal and takes years to litigate. Years we don't have." Bennett's voice was clipped, controlled. Too controlled. Titan knows that. They're banking on us running out of capital before any legal remedy takes effect. Daniel wheeled into the room, his laptop balanced on his knees. Eleanor's brother had insisted on being part of the War Council, and honestly, his strategic mind had proven invaluable. "I've been analyzing their marketing," he said. "Titan's targeting our exact demographic with surgical precision. They're not just competing, they're mimicking our messaging, our aesthetic, even our user testimonials. Because someone's feeding them information," Maya said darkly. "Someone who knows our entire strategy." The words hung in the air like an accusation. Eleanor's stomach twisted. They'd all been thinking it for weeks, but no one had said it aloud. There was a leak. Someone close to the operation was selling them out to Titan. Bennett stood abruptly, moving to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. The city glittered below, indifferent to their crisis. "I've had my team investigating," he said quietly, discreetly, "looking for unusual communications, unexplained financial deposits, anything suspicious." And Eleanor joined him at the window, dread pooling in her chest. Bennett turned to face her, and the look in his eyes made her blood run cold. "Victoria Chen." Eleanor's mind blanked. "Your VP of Operations?" "Victoria, who burst into our first meeting. She's been communicating with Titan's acquisition team for 6 months." Bennett's voice was ice. "Started before I even met you. She's been feeding them information about my investment pipeline, identifying which startups pose the greatest competitive threat." Jesus Christ. Maya sank into a chair. "Why? Money." Titan offered her a position on their board. Chief Strategy Officer. 8-figure compensation package. Bennett's jaw clenched. "She's been sabotaging my investments for personal gain. Everyone I've funded in the past year, the ones who mysteriously faced sudden competition or had their talent poached. That was Victoria. All of it." Daniel let out a low whistle. "That's not just corporate espionage. That's career suicide when it goes public." "It won't go public." Bennett's tone was final. "I've already handled it. Victoria resigned this afternoon, signed an NDA, and will be making a substantial financial restitution. She's finished in this industry." Eleanor should have felt vindicated, should have felt relief. Instead, she felt sick. "The damage is already done," she said. "Titan knows everything. Our launch strategy, our pricing model, our target demographics. They've been 3 steps ahead this entire time because Victoria handed them the playbook. Then we changed the game." Bennett stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "We stopped playing by their rules." "What does that mean?" Bennett's smile was sharp, dangerous. "It means we give Titan exactly what they want." 2 hours later, Eleanor understood Bennett's plan, and it was absolutely insane. "You want to sell to Titan?" Maya's voice pitched upward. "After everything they've done?" I want to make them think I'm willing to sell. Bennett leaned back, fingers steepled. We leak information through controlled channels. Make it look like we're struggling, desperate, ready to accept an acquisition offer. Titan CEO Richard Lockhart has been trying to buy his way into the assistive tech market for years. He'll jump at the opportunity to acquire the Synapse link and eliminate his only real competition. But we're not actually selling, Eleanor said slowly, understanding dawning. We're gathering intelligence. Bennett's eyes gleamed. Acquisition negotiations require due diligence. Titan will have to open their books, show us their technology, reveal their own vulnerabilities. We'll learn everything about the Nexus, its weaknesses, its limitations, its manufacturing costs. Daniel grinned. And then we use that information to destroy them. Exactly. Bennett turned to Eleanor. But this only works if Titan believes the offer is genuine, which means you and I need to sell the performance of our lives. We need to look defeated, desperate, ready to give up. Maya shook her head. Lockhart's not stupid. He'll smell a trap. Not if we make it personal. Bennett's gaze locked onto Eleanor, intense and calculating. Relationships are messy, complicated. If Titan thinks our partnership is falling apart, that we're fighting, that you blame me for the leak, that the stress is fracturing our collaboration, they'll believe we're vulnerable. Eleanor's pulse quickened. You want us to fake a falling out. I want us to be convincing. Bennett moved closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. Can you do that? Can you pretend to hate me in public while trusting me in private? The question carried weight beyond business strategy. Over the past month, something had shifted between them. The late nights, the shared confidences, the moments when Bennett's hand would linger on her shoulder or his eyes would track her across a room with an intensity that had nothing to do with quarterly projections. Eleanor had been fighting her attraction to him because it was stupid and complicated and potentially catastrophic. But now he was asking her to weaponize those feelings, to perform anger and betrayal while maintaining the thread of trust that had grown between them. Yes, she whispered. I can do that. Bennett's hand found hers under the table, hidden from Maya and Daniel's view. His thumb traced across her knuckles, a gesture that had become familiar, intimate, theirs. This is going to get ugly, he said. Titan will dig into our personal lives, looking for leverage. They'll use whatever they find against us. I don't have secrets. Eleanor squeezed his hand. Do you? Something flickered in Bennett's expression, a shadow, there and gone. Everyone has secrets, Eleanor. The question is whether they're the kind that destroy you when exposed. Before Eleanor could press, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. Miss Ripley. The voice was smooth, cultured, vaguely threatening. This is Richard Lockhart. I think it's time we had a conversation about your future. Eleanor's eyes snapped to Bennett. He'd gone completely still, his expression carved from stone. How did you get this number? Eleanor asked. Lockhart's laugh was soft. My dear, I know everything about you. Your brother's medical history, your company's financials, your complicated relationship with Michael Bennett. A pause, deliberate and cruel. I know things about Mr. Bennett that would surprise you. Things he's worked very hard to keep hidden. Eleanor's hand tightened around Bennett's. I'm not interested in. 3 days, Lockhart interrupted. I'm giving you 3 days to accept my acquisition offer. $15 million for your company and all associated technology. After that, the offer disappears, and I'll make it my personal mission to ensure the Synapse link never sees mainstream adoption. His voice hardened. Ask your partner about the Meridian collapse. Ask him what really happened 5 years ago. Then decide if he's someone worth trusting with your future. The line went dead. Eleanor stared at Bennett, whose face had drained of all color. What is he talking about? She asked. What's the Meridian collapse? Bennett's hand slipped from hers. He stood, moved away, putting distance between them. Bennett. Eleanor's voice sharpened. What happened 5 years ago? When he turned back, his expression was devastated, guilty and haunted and utterly shattered. I killed someone, he said quietly, and Titan Technologies knows exactly how. Oh, my God. Drop a comment right now with your theories. What do you think Bennett did? And hit that subscribe button, because what happens next is going to wreck you emotionally. The word killed echoed in the penthouse like a death knell. Eleanor couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Bennett, her partner, her investor, the man whose touch had become as necessary as oxygen, stood across the room looking like he was watching his entire world collapse. "You what?" Maya's voice cracked the silence. Bennett's hands clenched at his sides. "I didn't murder anyone, but someone died because of me, because of a decision I made." Daniel had gone completely still, his expression unreadable. Eleanor wanted to move, to speak, but her body had forgotten how. "The Meridian Project," Bennett continued, his voice hollow. "5 years ago, I invested in a biotech startup developing a rapid deployment vaccine platform. Revolutionary technology. The CEO, Dr. Amanda Reeves, was brilliant, passionate about getting life-saving treatments to underserved populations. He moved to the bar, poured himself 2 fingers of whiskey with shaking hands. Didn't drink it, just stared at the amber liquid like it held answers. Meridian needed additional funding for final trials. Amanda came to me, desperate, said they were close, so close, to something that could save thousands of lives. She needed $3 million to complete the testing protocols properly. Bennett's laugh was bitter, self-loathing. I gave her $1 million, told her to cut corners, move faster. Titan was circling, threatening to launch a competing product. I wanted to beat them to market. Eleanor's stomach turned. Amanda pushed her team too hard, skipped safety protocols, rushed human trials. Bennett's knuckles whitened around the glass. One of the test subjects, a 24-year-old volunteer named Sophie Chun, had an adverse reaction, went into anaphylactic shock during the trial. The medical team wasn't prepared for severe complications because we'd cut the emergency response protocols to save money. "Oh God," Maya whispered. Sophie died 3 hours later. Bennett's voice cracked. 24 years old, graduate student, volunteered because she believed in the mission, believed we were trying to help people. And she died because I prioritized profit over safety. The silence was suffocating. The investigation cleared Meridian of criminal negligence, Bennett continued. Technically, Sophie had signed waivers. Technically, her death was ruled an unforeseeable medical complication. But I knew the truth. Amanda knew the truth. If I'd funded the project properly, if I hadn't pushed them to cut corners, Sophie would still be alive. Eleanor found her voice. What happened to the company? It collapsed. Amanda couldn't live with the guilt. She dissolved Meridian, returned all investor capital, and disappeared from the industry. Last I heard, she was teaching high school biology in Vermont. Bennett finally looked at Eleanor, his eyes raw with pain. I've spent 5 years trying to atone. Every investment I make now, I prioritize safety over speed, ethics over profit. I swore I'd never let my ambition cost another life. And Titan knows, Eleanor said quietly. Richard Lockhart was one of Meridian's original investors. He pulled his funding early when the trial started showing complications. He's smart enough to know when to abandon ship. But he kept all the internal documents, all the communications proving I pushed Amanda to cut corners. Bennett set down the untouched whiskey. If Lockhart goes public with that information, it'll destroy me. My reputation, my company, every investment I've made, including yours. The implication hit Eleanor like a freight train. If Bennett went down, the Synapse link went down with him. His funding, his connections, his credibility, all of it would evaporate. She'd be left with nothing but a brilliant product and no way to bring it to market. He's blackmailing you, Maya said. He'll release the information unless we accept the acquisition. Bennett nodded. Lockhart wants the Synapse link. But more than that, he wants to destroy me. I've been a thorn in Titan's side for years, funding competitors, disrupting their market dominance. This is his chance to eliminate me permanently. Daniel spoke for the first time, his voice measured. What's stopping him from releasing the information anyway? Even if we sell? Nothing. Bennett's smile was ghosts and ashes. But if we don't sell, he'll definitely release it. At least this way, there's a chance he'll stay quiet to avoid questions about why he's targeting us. Eleanor's mind raced through scenarios, calculations, desperate gambits. Every path led to ruin. If they sold to Titan, the Synapse link would be buried or corrupted. If they didn't sell, Bennett's scandal would tank the company anyway. They were checkmated. There has to be another way, Eleanor said. There isn't. Bennett moved toward her, stopping just out of reach. Eleanor, I'm sorry. I should have told you from the beginning. Should have warned you that partnering with me came with this kind of risk. But I saw your device, saw what it could mean for people like Daniel, like my sister Lily, and his voice broke. I was selfish. I wanted to be part of something good, something that made up for Sophie's death. I convinced myself I could protect you from my past. You can't protect me by making decisions without me. Eleanor's anger flared, hot and righteous. I'm not some fragile thing that needs shielding. If we're partners, we face threats together. We make decisions together. Even when the decision is whether to sacrifice your dream to save my reputation. The question hung between them, impossible and cruel. Eleanor looked at Daniel, who watched her with quiet understanding. Her brother. The reason she'd built the Synapse link, the reason she'd fought through rejection and exhaustion and despair. How could she let Titan destroy something that could change his life and thousands of others? But how could she destroy Bennett in the process? Lockhart gave us 3 days, Maya said. We have 72 hours to find leverage, find a solution, or accept that we've lost. Bennett shook his head. There's no leverage. Lockhart holds all the cards. Then we flipped the table. Daniel's eyes gleamed with something dangerous. We can't beat Titan playing their game. So we changed the rules completely. Ow, Eleanor asked. Her brother smiled, the same stubborn, brilliant smile he'd worn through years of physical therapy and adaptive challenges. We go public, with everything. Bennett's past, Lockhart's blackmail, Titan's predatory practices. We blow up the entire battlefield. Bennett went pale. That would destroy me. Maybe, Daniel agreed. Or maybe the truth sets you free. People respect honesty. They hate corporations that weaponize tragedy. If we control the narrative, if you own your mistakes before Lockhart can weaponize them, we might survive this. And if we don't, Maya's voice was small. Then we go down fighting, Eleanor said quietly. She met Bennett's gaze across the room, saw the fear and hope warring in his expression. But we go down together, or we don't go down at all. Bennett crossed to her, his hand cupping her face with devastating gentleness. You'd risk everything? For me? You risked everything for me first, Eleanor whispered. In the rain, when you could have dismissed me as just another desperate entrepreneur. You saw something worth fighting for. Now I'm returning the favor. His forehead pressed against hers, his breath shaky. Eleanor. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Eleanor answered, her heart in her throat. Hello. Miss Ripley. Richard Lockhart's voice oozed satisfaction. I assume Mr. Bennett has shared his tragic history with you by now. I'm calling to sweeten my offer. $20 million for your company. Final offer. You have 48 hours. And if I refuse, then I release everything tomorrow morning. Bennett's negligence. Sophie Chen's preventable death. The cover-up that followed. By noon, your partner will be unemployable and your company will be worthless. Lockhart paused. Choose wisely, my dear. Some battles can't be won. The line went dead. Eleanor looked at Bennett, at Maya, at Daniel. Her team, her family, her impossible, beautiful dream hanging by a thread. We have 48 hours, she said. Let's go to war. I am shook. Comment below. Should Eleanor trust Bennett? Should they go public? And please subscribe if you haven't already, because what happens next is going to be insane. Eleanor didn't sleep. 48 hours had become 36, then 24, then 12. Now, with dawn breaking over Manhattan, she sat in Bennett's penthouse, surrounded by the wreckage of desperate planning. Empty coffee cups, crumpled notes, her laptop displaying the press release that would either save them or destroy everything. Bennett emerged from his bedroom, shower damp and exhausted. He'd been on calls with lawyers until 3 a.m., trying to find legal angles that didn't exist. His eyes found Eleanor immediately, a question in their depths. It's ready, she said, gesturing to her screen. The statement. Everything you wanted to say about Meridian, about Sophie Chun, about the mistakes you made and the lessons you learned. Bennett crossed to read over her shoulder, his presence warm against her back. She'd written and rewritten his confession a dozen times, trying to find the balance between accountability and self-destruction. "This is good," he said quietly. "Better than I deserve. It's honest." Eleanor turned to face him. "That's what matters. Lockhart thinks he can weaponize your past. We're disarming him by owning it first." Maya stumbled from the guest room, looking like she'd aged 5 years overnight. "Legal team sent the final review. They say we're clear, no defamation issues, no breach of NDAs. If we're doing this, we can pull the trigger whenever." "Daniel?" Eleanor called. Her brother wheeled out from the office, his laptop balanced on his knees. "Social media strategy is locked. The moment we release the statement, we flood every platform with user testimonials about the Synapse link. Real people, real stories, real impact. We remind everyone why this technology matters and who we're really fighting for." Eleanor checked her watch. 8 hours until Lockhart's deadline. 8 hours before he released his version of events. The one designed to destroy Bennett without context, without redemption, without truth. "There's something else," Daniel said, his expression strange. "I've been digging into Titan's financials. Public records, SEC filings, investor reports. And I found something weird." Bennett straightened. "Weird how?" "Titan's been bleeding money for 18 months. Their stock is down 23%. Several major investors have pulled out recently." Daniel pulled up spreadsheets. "They're not the invincible giant they appear to be. They're desperate. Desperate enough to launch a predatory pricing war they can't sustain," Maya said slowly, understanding dawning. "They're using the Nexus as a Hail Mary to show investors they can still innovate, still dominate markets." Eleanor's mind raced. "If they're already struggling, and we force them into an extended price war, they collapse before we do," Bennett finished. His eyes gleamed. "They can't maintain 30% below cost for long. Not with their financial situation. Lockhart's betting will fold first, but if we can hold out, we need capital." Eleanor stood, pacing. "Enough to survive 6 months of losses while Titan bleeds themselves dry. How much are we talking?" Bennett pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen. 20 million. Minimum. And that's if everything goes perfectly. 20 million. The exact amount Lockhart was offering to acquire them. "I can liquidate some assets," Bennett said. "Call in favors, access credit lines. That's not enough, and you know it." Eleanor stopped pacing, her heart hammering. "We need outside investment. Real investors who believe in the mission enough to weather the storm." Maya shook her head. "Who's going to invest when we're in the middle of a war with Titan Technologies? When Bennett's about to release a statement admitting to past negligence? It's financial suicide." The room fell silent. Then Eleanor's phone rang. Dr. Amanda Reeves. Eleanor stared at the name, her blood turning cold. Bennett's former partner from Meridian. The woman who'd lost everything when Sophie Chin died. The ghost haunting Bennett's confession. "How did she get your number?" Bennett whispered. Eleanor answered on speaker. "Dr. Reeves? Miss Ripley." The voice was warm, tired, carrying the weight of years. "I hope you'll forgive the intrusion. Michael gave me a number 3 years ago, asked me to call if I ever needed anything. I never did. Until now." Bennett had gone completely still, his face ashen. "I saw the preliminary reports about your device," Amanda continued. "The Synapse link. It's beautiful work. Exactly the kind of innovation Michael and I dreamed about with Meridian, technology that serves people instead of exploiting them." "Thank you," Eleanor managed. "But I'm not sure why. I know what Richard Lockhart is doing to you. I know he's threatening to release information about Meridian, about Sophie, about Michael's mistakes." Amanda's voice hardened. "And I know he's lying about what actually happened." Eleanor's eyes snapped to Bennett, whose expression had transformed from devastation to confusion. "What do you mean, lying?" Bennett asked. "Michael, is that you?" Amanda's laugh was soft, sad. "God, I haven't heard your voice in 5 years. You've been punishing yourself all this time for something that wasn't your fault." "Amanda, Sophie died because I pushed you to cut corners. Sophie died because I made a critical error in the testing protocol." Amanda's words came firm, certain. "Not you. Me. I was so focused on speed, so desperate to beat Titan to market, that I personally approved skipping the extended observation period. You gave me the funding I asked for. $1 million was exactly what I requested for that phase. I lied in my final report. Said you pressured me. Said you demanded corner cutting. The confession hung in the air like a bomb. I was drowning in guilt, Michael. Sophie's death destroyed me. So I blamed you, put everything on your shoulders because I couldn't carry it myself. I dissolved the company, walked away, let you believe you were responsible. Amanda's voice cracked. But Lockhart knows the truth. He has the original testing logs, the ones showing my signature approving the protocol changes. He's been using your guilt as leverage for years, threatening to expose you for something I did. Bennett sank into a chair, his hands covering his face. Why are you telling us this now? Eleanor asked. Because I've spent 5 years teaching high school biology, trying to atone, trying to remember why I became a scientist, to help people, not to chase glory or profit. Amanda's voice strengthened. Your device, Eleanor, is everything Meridian should have been. And I won't let Lockhart destroy it the way he destroyed my company. I'm willing to testify publicly. Tell the truth about Sophie's death, about my failures, about Lockhart's manipulation. If it helps you fight back, I'll do it. Eleanor looked at Bennett, whose eyes were filled with tears, grief and relief, and 5 years of misplaced guilt finally releasing its grip. Amanda, he whispered, you don't have to. Yes, I do. It's time to stop letting Lockhart weaponize tragedy. Time to stop letting him win. She paused. I have documentation. Everything Lockhart's been hiding. And I'm ready to release it. Maya leaned forward. If we go public with this, with a real story, Lockhart loses his leverage, Daniel finished. Can't blackmail someone when the truth is already out there. Eleanor's mind crystallized around a plan, audacious, risky, potentially brilliant. Dr. Reeves, how would you feel about a joint press conference? Eleanor asked. You, Bennett, and me. We tell the complete story. Meridian, Sophie, Lockhart's manipulation, and why the synapse link matters. We control the narrative completely. We need to move fast, Bennett said, standing now, energy returning to his voice. Before Lockhart's deadline. We do it today, Eleanor said. In 6 hours. Give me 3 hours to coordinate with media, 3 hours to prepare statements. We beat Lockhart to the punch and destroy his credibility in the process. I'm in, Amanda said immediately. Maya was already on her phone. I'll contact every tech journalist I know. Make this the biggest story of the year. Daniel grinned. I'll prime social media. By the time we go live, half the internet will be watching. Bennett crossed to Eleanor, his hands framing her face with desperate tenderness. You're sure about this? Once we do this, there's no going back. Eleanor smiled, fierce, determined, unafraid. I gave you my umbrella in the rain. Remember? I don't quit when things get hard. Together, Bennett whispered. Eleanor kissed him. Quick, electric, full of promise. Always. Her phone buzzed one final time. Richard Lockhart. She answered, her voice steady as steel. Mr. Lockhart, about your offer. Have you come to your senses, Miss Ripley? Actually, I'm calling to let you know I'm holding a press conference in 6 hours. Dr. Amanda Reeves will be joining me. We're going to tell the world everything about Meridian, about Sophie Chun, and about you. Eleanor smiled. Thought you'd want to know. In case you'd like to prepare a statement. Silence. Then, you're making a mistake. No, Eleanor said. I'm making history. She hung up, turned to her team, her family, and nodded. Let's go win this war. Yes. Comment if you're ready to see Eleanor destroy Lockhart. And subscribe because when it's going to be the most satisfying thing you've ever read. The press conference room buzzed with energy, 50 journalists, cameras from every major network, and the weight of everything Eleanor had fought for balanced on the next 60 minutes. She stood backstage, her hands trembling. Bennett appeared beside her, immaculate in a charcoal suit, his presence steadying her fraying nerves. Ready, he asked. Terrified, Eleanor admitted. What if this backfires? What if people think we're just making excuses, spinning stories? Bennett's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining. Then we go down telling the truth. That's more than Lockhart can say. Dr. Amanda Reeves emerged from the green room, early 50s, gray streaking her dark hair, wearing a simple blue dress and an expression of quiet determination. She looked like someone who'd spent 5 years in purgatory and was finally ready for redemption. Miss Ripley. Amanda extended her hand. Thank you for giving me this chance. Eleanor squeezed her hand. Thank you for telling the truth. Maya rushed over, iPad in hand, her face flushed with excitement. We're trending on Twitter. Hashtag SynapseLinkTruth is #2 worldwide. Daniel's social media campaign worked. Half the tech community is watching the live stream. We're at 200,000 viewers and climbing. 200,000 people. Watching. Waiting. Eleanor's stomach lurched. 1 minute, a production assistant called. Bennett pulled Eleanor aside, his voice low and urgent. Whatever happens out there, whatever Lockhart does in response, I want you to know something. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Meeting you in that rain was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not because of your device or your company. Because of you, your courage, your heart, your refusal to give up even when everything's falling apart. Eleanor's eyes burned with unshed tears. Bennett, I'm in love with you. The words tumbled out, raw and desperate. I know the timing is insane. I know we're in the middle of a war, and this is probably the worst possible moment, but I needed you to know, before we walk out there, before everything changes. Eleanor's heart stopped, restarted, began racing. You love me, completely, hopelessly. Bennett's smile was crooked, vulnerable. Terrible timing, right? Eleanor laughed, a sound caught between tears and joy. The worst. She pulled him down, kissed him hard and fierce. I love you too, you impossible man. 30 seconds. They broke apart. Eleanor's lipstick smeared across Bennett's mouth. Maya tossed her a tissue with an exasperated smile. You two are disasters. Adorable disasters, but still. Eleanor wiped Bennett's face, her hands shaking with adrenaline and love and terror. Let's go change the world. The lights were blinding. Eleanor stepped to the podium, Bennett and Amanda flanking her, the weight of 200,000, now 400,000, viewers pressing down on her shoulders. Thank you for coming. Her voice barely shook. My name is Eleanor Ripley. 6 weeks ago, I developed an assistive technology device called the Synapse Link. It's designed to give independence and dignity to people with limited motor control. People like my brother, Daniel. She gestured to the front row, where Daniel sat, proud and steady. Since launch, we've been targeted by Titan Technologies, a corporation that views assistive technology as a market to exploit rather than people to serve. They've engaged in predatory pricing, poached our employees, and attempted to destroy our company before we could offer a real alternative. Eleanor's voice strengthened. But today isn't about business competition. It's about truth. She nodded to Bennett, who stepped forward. My name is Michael Bennett. His voice carried across the room, steady despite the cameras. 5 years ago, I invested in a biotech company called Meridian. During clinical trials, a young woman named Sophie Chun died. For 5 years, I've carried the guilt of her death, believed that my pressure to move fast, to cut corners, to prioritize profit over safety cost Sophie her life. Murmurs rippled through the press corps. I was wrong. Bennett looked at Amanda. The person responsible for Sophie's death, the one who made the critical protocol decisions, is standing beside me. And she's here to tell you the truth. Amanda stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. I'm Dr. Amanda Reeves, former CEO of Meridian Technologies. Sophie Chun died because of errors I made, protocol shortcuts I approved, safety measures I eliminated, risks I failed to properly assess. Michael Bennett gave me exactly the funding I requested. I blamed him in my final report because I couldn't face my own failures. She pulled out a folder, held it up to the cameras. These are the original testing logs, bearing my signature on every protocol change. Richard Lockhart, CEO of Titan Technologies, has possessed these documents for 5 years. Instead of exposing the truth, he's used them to blackmail Michael Bennett, threatening to release a false narrative to destroy his reputation unless he capitulated to Titan's demands. The room erupted. Journalists shouted questions. Cameras flashed like lightning. Eleanor raised her hand for silence. Lockhart attempted to blackmail us into selling the Synapse link to Titan. When we refused, he threatened to release edited information about Meridian designed to destroy my partner and tank my company. We're here today to remove his leverage by telling the complete, unvarnished truth. Maya appeared from the side, projecting financial documents onto the screen behind them. These are Titan Technologies' financial records, publicly available but rarely examined. Titan has been operating at a loss for 18 months. Their aggressive pricing on the Nexus device isn't innovation, it's desperation. They're attempting to monopolize the assistive tech market before their investors abandon them. Daniel wheeled forward, his voice carrying youth and conviction. I've used both the Nexus and the Synapse link. The Nexus is functional, barely. It's assistive technology designed by people who've never needed assistance. The Synapse link was built by someone who watched her brother struggle, who listened instead of assumed, who designed for dignity. He looked at Eleanor with fierce pride. There's no comparison, and Titan knows it. A journalist stood. Mr. Bennett, are you asking for forgiveness for your role in Sophie Chen's death? Bennett's expression was solemn. I'm asking for understanding. I made mistakes, not the ones I've been accused of, but real ones. I trusted too easily. I didn't verify claims. I let guilt silence me instead of seeking truth. He paused. Sophie Chen deserved better. Her family deserves to know the complete story, not the manipulated version Richard Lockhart has weaponized. I'm committed to honoring her memory by ensuring every investment I make prioritizes safety, ethics, and human dignity over profit. Another journalist. Miss Ripley, what happens now? Eleanor smiled, fierce, determined, unafraid. Now, we fight. The Synapse link isn't just surviving, it's thriving. We have 600 pre-orders as of this morning. We've partnered with 3 manufacturing facilities willing to produce at cost until we're profitable. And we're establishing the Sophie Chen Foundation, funded by personal contributions from Michael Bennett and myself, to provide free assistive devices to families who can't afford them. She leaned into the microphone, her voice ringing with conviction. Richard Lockhart thinks he can bully us into submission. He's wrong. This company will succeed or fail on the merit of our product and the strength of our mission. Not because some corrupt CEO decided to weaponize tragedy for corporate gain. Eleanor's phone buzzed on the podium. A news alert. Titan Technologies stock drops 15% following fraud allegations. Another alert. SEC announces investigation into Titan Technologies' financial practices. Then another. Lockhart under fire. Investors demand resignation. Maya's eyes widened, showing Eleanor her tablet. Social media had exploded. Hashtag Titan fraud was trending worldwide. Tech journalists were publishing exposés about Lockhart's history of corporate manipulation. Investors were fleeing Titan like rats from a sinking ship. Bennett's hand found Eleanor's beneath the podium, squeezing tight. One more thing, Eleanor said, her voice carrying triumph. As of this morning, the Synapse link has received series of funding from Bennett Capital, $50 million. We're not just surviving Titan's assault. We're building the future they tried to steal. The room erupted into chaos. Questions shouted, cameras flashing, journalists scrambling for follow-ups. Eleanor stepped back from the podium, letting Maya handle the press. Bennett pulled her into his arms, his kiss fierce and celebratory and full of promise. We did it, he whispered against her lips. We did it, Eleanor agreed. Amanda approached, tears streaming down her face. Thank you for letting me make this right. Eleanor hugged her tightly. Thank you for telling the truth. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her accept the call. Congratulations, Miss Ripley. Richard Lockhart's voice was ice. You've won the battle, but the war isn't over. Yes, Eleanor said calmly. It is. Your board is calling for your resignation. The SEC is investigating your finances. Your investors are fleeing. You're finished, Lockhart. Silence. Then, quietly, this isn't over. The line went dead. Eleanor looked at Bennett, at Amanda, at Maya, and Daniel. Her team, her family, her impossible, beautiful victory. Let him try, she said. We'll be ready. Drop a comment if you're crying right now. One more part to go, and I promise you'll love the ending. Subscribe if you haven't. What happens next is going to wrap this up perfectly. 6 months later, Eleanor stood in the warehouse-turned-production facility in Brooklyn, watching the assembly line hum with purposeful energy. Rows of synapse-linked devices moved through quality control, each one destined for someone whose life was about to change. The space smelled like possibility, clean electronics, fresh paint, and the coffee Maya kept brewing in the break room. We're at capacity, Maya announced, striding over with a tablet. 3,000 units this month. Next month, we're projecting 5,000. Eleanor, we're not just surviving, we're thriving. Eleanor smiled, the weight of the past months settling into something lighter. Victory, yes, but also peace. The press conference had detonated Titan Technologies from the inside. Lockhart resigned within 72 hours, facing multiple investigations for securities fraud, corporate espionage, and manipulation of financial records. Titan's board had issued a public apology and divested from the assistive technology market entirely. The Nexus device disappeared from shelves within weeks. The Synapse link had filled the vacuum. Daniel's class arrives in 20 minutes, Maya reminded her. His entire adaptive technology seminar wants the factory tour. Eleanor checked her watch. Her brother had become something of a celebrity, not just as the face of the Synapse link, but as an advocate who testified before Congress about accessible technology standards. Columbia had created a new position for him, Student Director of Inclusive Technology Initiatives. He was changing policy at 20 years old. She was so damn proud. Miss Ripley, a production supervisor, approached, holding a completed device. First unit of the new batch. Want to do the honors? Eleanor took the Synapse link, running her fingers over the smooth casing. Such a small thing. Such an enormous impact. The Sophie Chin Foundation had distributed over 500 devices free of charge. User testimonials flooded their inbox daily. People regaining independence, pursuing education, rebuilding confidence. Sophie would have loved this, Eleanor thought. Would have been proud. Perfect, she told the supervisor. Ship it. The warehouse door opened, admitting autumn sunlight and Michael Bennett. He'd changed over the past 6 months, softened somehow, the razor-edge intensity replaced with something warmer. He still wore expensive suits and commanded boardrooms, but now he smiled more, laughed more, looked at Eleanor like she'd hung the moon and stars specifically for him. You're early, Eleanor said as he crossed to her. Couldn't wait. Bennett kissed her, unhurried and thorough, ignoring Maya's theatrical gagging. Besides, I have news. Good news or complicated news? Both. Bennett pulled out his phone, showing her an email. Dr. Amanda Reeves wants to come out of retirement. She's asking if we consider bringing her on as Chief Scientific Officer. Says she's ready to build the things she should have built 10 years ago. Eleanor's heart swelled. Amanda had spent the past 6 months rebuilding her reputation through the Sophie Chin Foundation, volunteering, mentoring young scientists, proving through action that people could learn from mistakes and become better. Hiring her would be controversial. Some investors would balk. Eleanor didn't care. Tell her yes, she said. We'd be honored. Bennett's smile was brilliant. I already did. She starts Monday. You were supposed to wait for my approval. I know you. He kissed her forehead. You always choose grace over grudges. The warehouse filled with voices. Daniel and 20 students from his seminar, eager and curious and ready to learn. Eleanor watched her brother expertly navigate the space, his wheelchair moving with practiced confidence, his voice strong as he explained the production process to his classmates. He's going to change the world, Bennett said quietly. He already is. Eleanor leaned into him. We all are. One of Daniel's students, a young woman with cerebral palsy, approached hesitantly. Miss Ripley, I just wanted to say thank you. I've been using the Synapse link for 3 months now. I'm able to take notes in class, finish assignments independently, even started coding. Her eyes filled with tears. You gave me my life back. Eleanor hugged her, emotion thick in her throat. You always had your life. We just gave you better tools to live it. After the tour ended and the students filtered out, Daniel remained behind. He wheeled over to Eleanor and Bennett, his expression serious. I have something to tell you both, he said. Eleanor's stomach tightened. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. Daniel grinned. I got an offer from MIT. They want me to lead a new research lab focused on adaptive technology. Full faculty position. At 20, Eleanor's scream of joy echoed through the warehouse. She threw her arms around Daniel, nearly toppling him from his chair. "Oh my God, Daniel, that's incredible." Bennett shook Daniel's hand, pride radiating from him. "Congratulations. They're lucky to have you." "I couldn't have done any of this without you both," Daniel said, his voice thick with emotion. "Eleanor, you built this because you believed I deserved better. Michael, you funded it because you believed in second chances. You both taught me that limitations are just problems waiting for better solutions." Maya appeared with champagne. She'd apparently been prepared for good news, and they toasted Daniel's future, the company's success, and the impossible journey that had brought them here. As evening fell and the warehouse emptied, Eleanor and Bennett found themselves alone on the rooftop overlooking Brooklyn. The city glittered below them, alive with possibility. "I have something for you," Bennett said. He pulled out a small box. Not a ring box, something different. Inside was a key. "What's this?" Eleanor asked. "Keys to the penthouse. I want you to move in with me. Officially. Not just staying over when we work late, but actually living together." Bennett's expression was vulnerable, hopeful. "I know it's fast. I know we've only been together 6 months. But Eleanor, I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I want to wake up with you every morning. Fall asleep with you every night. Build a life that's ours." Eleanor's vision blurred with happy tears. Yes. God, yes. They kissed on that rooftop as the sun set over Brooklyn. Two people who'd found each other in a rainstorm and built something extraordinary together. "I love you," Bennett whispered against her lips. "I love you too." Eleanor pulled back, her smile mischievous. "But I'm keeping my umbrella, just in case you need it again." Bennett laughed, deep and genuine and full of joy. "Keep it. But next time it rains, we're sharing." "Deal." 3 years later, Eleanor stood on stage at the TechCrunch Innovation Awards, her hand resting on her pregnant belly, accepting the Humanitarian Technology Award. The Synapse link had expanded globally, distributed in 47 countries, translated into 32 languages, changing tens of thousands of lives. Daniel had revolutionized adaptive technology research at MIT. Amanda had developed 3 new assistive devices through the Sophie Foundation. Maya had become COO of Eleanor's company, now valued at over $200 million. And Bennett? He'd shifted his entire investment portfolio to focus exclusively on ethical technology, funding companies that prioritize humanity over profit, accessibility over exclusivity, dignity over convenience. They'd gotten married on a rainy afternoon in Central Park, deliberately, joyfully, with Eleanor carrying the umbrella she'd given him that first day. As Eleanor delivered her acceptance speech, she looked into the audience and found Bennett's eyes. He mouthed 3 words, "I love you." She smiled, touched her belly where their daughter kicked with Bennett's determination and her stubbornness, and mouthed back, "Together. Always." The girl who'd given her umbrella to a stranger had found her home. The investor who'd been lost in a storm had found his redemption. And together, they'd changed the world, one act of kindness at a time. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me. If this story touched your heart, please leave a comment telling me your favorite moment. I love hearing from you. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now so you never miss another story. I've got so many more incredible tales to share with you. Where are you watching from? Drop your location below and tell me, what should my next story be about? I can't wait to hear your ideas. Until next time, remember, sometimes the smallest acts of kindness lead to the biggest changes. Be someone's umbrella in the storm.